Elon Musk tells Tucker Carlson potential dangers of hyper intelligent AI. Welcome back to another Friday Bible study. This will be the second video I've done this week about AI and the dangers of AI and the news articles we've been reading in regards to AI. And I think this is very fitting for what we're going to go over and discuss. Earlier on this week, we went over an interview through 60 Minutes. In regards to the Google CEO explaining the dangers of AI and what could possibly happen. Now we have this clip, this from Elon Musk interview going viral. You may have already seen it, but I want to show you some key moments in here that I have highlighted and ready to go. So here's the first one. Let's take a look.
So I think we should be cautious with AI, and I think there should be some government oversight because it's a danger to the public. And so when you have things that are a danger to the public, like let's say, so food and drugs. That's why we have the Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Aviation Administration, the FCC. We have these agencies to oversee things that affect the public, where there could be public harm, and you don't want companies cutting corners on safety, and then having people suffer as a result. So
that's our first clip. There is potential dangers that are happening. This is another person who I won't say fully, but is around this stuff enough, warning of the dangers coming forward. And, you normally talk about hype and media hype of what's going on with this AI and the direction we're going. And a lot of times in history, media has overhyped something. But this is another expert that's working with this stuff almost every day, on top of all the countless other people that, we'd probably disagree with on a stance of, political views, opinions on, where to go in the future. Such as the CEO of Google, but once again you have someone else telling us of the potential dangers of what they're seeing from their experience. And then I'll show you this clip here.
All regulations start with a perceived danger. Planes fall out of the sky, or food causes botulism.
Yes.
I don't think the average person playing with AI on his iPhone perceives any danger. Can you just roughly explain what you think the dangers might be?
Yeah. So the danger, really, AI is perhaps more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance or bad car production, in the sense that it has the potential, however small one may regard that probability, but it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilizational destruction. There's movies like Terminator, but it wouldn't quite happen like Terminator, because the intelligence would be in the data centers.
Right.
The robot's just the end effector. But I think perhaps what you may be alluding to here is that regulations are really only put into effect after something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we only put in regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
You think?
So essentially what's happening here, it's really interesting to watch this dynamic. Obviously Tucker is trying to fish for that viral comment, that viral moment. I'm not trying to insinuate that he, doesn't care about anything. He only has his personal agenda. I'm not trying to say he doesn't genuinely care about the information that Elon Musk is sharing, but it's very obvious that Elon Musk, is there with an agenda. Like, there's nothing wrong with having an agenda. It's just when you have a bad agenda. But Elon Musk's agenda is spreading the news about the dangers of AI and trying to create or help formulate some sort of regulation around it. And Tucker Carlson's obviously trying to fish for that comment, for him to, flat out come out and say exactly what is the danger. And so at this point he's got Elon Musk that has shared that he believes that AI should be regulated because of the potential of what could happen. And now he's sharing that typically regulations only happen after something terrible has happened. But we need to get in front of this because we may not have an opportunity once that terrible thing happens. And so obviously this is get the news reporter side coming out. And then he finally asks that all important clip right here, and we'll end with this, and then we'll get into what I wanted to talk about.
Can you be more precise about what's potentially dangerous and scary? Like, what could it do? What specifically are you worried about?
Going with old sayings, the pen is mightier than the sword. If you have a super intelligent AI that is capable of writing incredibly well and in a way that is very influential, convincing, and is constantly figuring out what is more convincing to people over time, and then enter social media, for example, Twitter, but also Facebook and others, and potentially manipulates public opinion in a way that is very bad. How would we even know?
How do we even know?
And there you go. There you have it. His issue with it is the potential manipulation that we will see from something like that, something that will come over and take over, and we wouldn't even be able to tell we're being manipulated. That's the thing. The manipulation, the manipulative tactics that could potentially be engaged by the AI is so high and advanced and beyond the common person's understanding. Not because they're not intelligent. That's not what's going on here. It's because they don't understand how it works, and they don't understand who's designing it and what's behind it, and how it's actually programmed. And so because of that ignorance, and because of that not understanding that aspect to it, they will be being manipulated and not even realize it. It's one of the reasons why in our house we don't have Alexa. We don't have any of that crap in our house because I don't need my children getting information from something that I understand the programmer's intent and viewpoints behind it, and they have continuously showed that they are not in alignment with allowing truth to be truth, and that there needs to be a certain kind of truth that is projected. And so I don't want my children feeding off of that well. I don't want them drinking from that well. I want them drinking from the pure water. I want them drinking, pure, healthy, nutritious water, not water that has been siphoned through some 20-something-year-old programmer's view up in Silicon Valley. That's not what I want for my children. It's not what I want for my family, and it's not what I want for myself. And that's where we get into the topic. I've freeze-framed this perfectly. I'm Tucker Carlson here. All of these clips have been played at a little bit of a higher speed just because I don't want to take up too much time playing clips. I want to get into what we're talking about today. But what do you do in a world where truth is hard to come by, where it almost seems now that truth is being stretched so thin and being manipulated and reformulated, and we don't really understand what truth actually is? And that may seem like a crazy topic because now what we've seen a lot of people do is they've talked about, well, this is my truth and that's your truth, and you can have your truth and I can have my truth. But now it's gone far beyond that, because now we're entering into a world and we're beginning to cross over into a Wild West version of what this AI stuff is going to be, because I don't see the government moving fast enough to respond to these things. And now it's becoming harder, or it eventually will become harder and harder and almost near impossible for the common person to recognize when they're being either manipulated or when they are watching and viewing and seeing and hearing things that are not actually genuine but actually AI generated, which is something that we just listened to earlier. I'll put the clip up here so you guys can see it and read it. But in the article that we were reading earlier in the week, the CEO of Google was warning this is potential that that your images, your video, your audio, all that stuff will be continued to be manipulated. And to the point where it'll become completely subversive. Like we won't be able to recognize when we're being manipulated and really be able to recognize when the truth is being told. So what do we do in that? And that's where I wanted to pick up from last week, Proverbs 2. This is in the English Standard Version. I wanted to read this to you for our Bible study. It's I'm not going to read the entire chapter, but there's some verses that I wanted to point out. It says, "My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures." Listen, wisdom and understanding in a situation is something that you always have to go seeking for. You always have to go hunting down. You always have to go try to find it. It's not something that comes easily. It's not something that comes naturally. It's not something that's going to just come to you. And you're not going to be able, if you think for one second that you are going to be able to watch something, hear something, see something, read something, and understand it like that, and you think that you're going to be able to pick it up and have full understanding of the situation, even if you're conversating with someone and they're telling you their side of the story, and you think you have full understanding of the situation that they're explaining to you, then you are not living this, and you are not getting this, and you are not actually going after real wisdom. That's not real wisdom. You're being foolish. Wisdom is something that you have to seek out. Knowledge is something that you have to seek out, and you're going to have to work even harder for it now. In this day and age, we were coming up and saying, oh, look how easy we have it. You have access to all this information and all this data. Well, now it feels like you're sifting through a toilet to find a gold nugget. That's what it feels like, because you have an internet that has been bombarded with agenda-driven content, agenda-driven data, and they've trained the public to search for information through specific outlets, and those outlets are being manipulative in the sense of they're only feeding you the information that aligns with their data, and it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not trying to make people depressed, but that is very, very obvious, the direction we're going in. And if you can't see that, you're blind. You are blind. Wisdom and knowledge is something you have to seek. It says you have to seek it out as silver, as precious treasures. The same way you would go seeking to make money, the same way you would go seeking to find something of extreme value, that is what it has to be to you. You have to call out for it. You have to shout for it. This is inclining hard work and effort on behalf of the person seeking wisdom. And then in that, for the Lord gives wisdom. Or no, right here, sorry, I missed it. If you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. The more that you incline, the more that you begin to look into and search for wisdom, what mankind eventually comes face to face with is the reality of God. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. What it was talking about in chapter 1, verse 7. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord and the knowledge, and basically like that. Now we see in this chapter that if you incline yourself, if you push yourself and you desire for yourself to have wisdom and all of that, and you go hunting for it and you go searching for it and you work hard to find it, and you don't just take things at face value, you don't just take the information that's being fed to you, but you seek out to understand. You don't seek to be right. You seek to understand. Simply for the fact that you seeking to understand leads you to the fear of the Lord, coming to the reality of the fact of your humanity. Because the biggest revelation you have when you come face to face with God is the reality of your own humanity. And really, it's the reality of your own depravity. Because that's what Job said. Look it up. When he came face to face with God, he said, I have heard of you, but now I have seen you face to face, and in that I despise myself. That's the reality. When you come face to face with God, you come to a place where you realize your own faults, humankind's own faults. Even if you're in a place right now where you're a non-believer, because I think this is still just as important to people who don't believe. Maybe you don't identify as a Christian. Maybe you say you don't really believe in this stuff. You still must wrestle with the reality of the truth and the wisdom in these texts, these thousands-year-old texts. That you will come face to face with the reality that you are imperfect, because that's what the knowledge of God is. That's what coming to a place where you actually see God. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, and you understand that I am imperfect. I don't understand. I am not the center of the universe, and I don't have everything figured out. In fact, I'm quite dumb, and I need to put in the effort to understand. I need to put in the effort to grow. I need to put in the effort to find truth. And that's what this is telling us. You need to put in the effort to find it. And that's the truth behind here. And so what do you do in a world where where it seems like truth is hidden? And it seems like everything is there's falsity everywhere. You commit to yourself to fully understanding the situation. And I feel for the next generation coming up. I feel for my children. I feel for those people that they're going to have to work harder than I did to come to truth, because now it seems as though what's been the common saying now is, oh, it's on video. We have all these politicians saying they believe one thing now, but then we have video. If we go back earlier in the years, we can actually watch them where they're being hypocritical and they're actually saying a different thing and saying what they don't believe in. Even though they come up now and say, I've always believed this. It's like literally, I can watch a video from you 5 years ago where you're saying you believe the opposite. All I got to do is search it on YouTube. And I feel for the generation that's coming up behind me, because they're going to come into the situation and they're not going to be able to trust that. That's just the reality. They're not going to be able to tell when something's real or fake from a video. They're going to have to really work harder to understand where that's coming from and understand if that's fake, if that's AI generated. It's a dangerous world. It's a scary world. You can't trust what you're seeing. I'll skip a lot of the rest of this, but this is really worth reading. But I think it'll, in the course of direction of where we're going in this conversation, I don't want this video to go stretch on long and long and long, or longer and longer and longer. But I think I want to highlight verse 21, and we'll end there. For the upright will inhabit the land. But listen to this. And those with integrity will remain in it. So the upright, the people that are in right standing, the people that are genuine in their approach, the people that desire for good things, will be able to enter in and take possession of the land, of ownership, of being able to own their peace and have it. But only the ones with integrity will be able to remain in it. We must be vigilant. We must be attentive, and you must educate your children on the world they're entering into, to not take things at face value. And I used to laugh at that. I used to laugh at people that used to say that. That wasn't until I had a conversation with my son about Google, and I realized what's happening. If you think this is silly and you're laughing at this and you're mocking this and you think I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist, or you think I'm some kind of always preaching from Revelation, go have a conversation with your children and ask them what they think about Google and what Google is. And it will scare the hell out of you. 100%. You'll realize the reality of what's happening here. Because you go have a conversation with them. When I had that conversation with him, luckily, I had it at a very young age for him, and I was able to re-educate him in what's actually going on, because he said, well, Google is a source of information. Like, I can go there and get all this information, and I can learn and understand things faster than I could read it from a book. And I said, who told you that? Oh, my teacher at school. I'm not insinuating that the teacher's trying to manipulate him, but the teacher is probably just as dumb or not dumb, but ignorant about the situation as any other people would if they don't understand what's going on here. And I told him, is everything you read on Google true? I asked him that question. And he said, yes. And I was like, no, son. No. No. And I began to explain to him that Google was created by man, and that there's an agenda behind it, and not everything that you Google can be taken as truth, and you must do the research even more. And he was like, I don't want to do that. I just want to read it like that. And I'm like, listen to me. A real man searches for the truth. A real man hunts and seeks to understand. And a real man won't get lazy and just read the first thing and say that's what's true, but will do the work necessary to get to the bottom of things. And that's what we need to do with our children. That's what we need to do with our loved ones, if you truly love them. If you don't want them to be raised foolish. If you want them to be able to remain in the land, we must operate with integrity and search for the truth. It's realer now than it's ever been. I went way too long on this video. This is way too long. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Comment below. Tell me what your thoughts are on this. Like, share, subscribe. I love these Friday Bible studies. I think these are amazing. I will catch you guys in the next one.